The signal came without warning. Far beyond Pluto, where the sun looked like a dim star and space was silent, a strange echo reached one of Earth's deep space listening posts. The operators at first thought it was static, just the usual noise from the galaxy. But then the sound repeated. It was not random. It carried a rhythm, a structure, something alive inside the code. For 2 long hours, technicians tried to clean it up. Finally, one young officer leaned back in his chair, his face pale. "This isn't natural," he whispered. "This is a distress signal." The room went silent. Everyone turned to the glowing screens, where faint alien symbols now pulsed in steady intervals. They were not human. They belonged to something else, something old. Within 24 hours, the discovery reached Earth's highest command. Generals, admirals, and government leaders gathered in a secure chamber beneath the Pentagon. On the screen above them, a satellite image showed a massive, dark object drifting at the edge of the solar system. It looked broken, torn by battle scars, larger than any ship humans had ever built. A derelict warship. The alien craft was the size of a city, its hull blackened and silent, with huge towers rising like broken bones. No power ran through it, no lights burned inside its frame. Yet it was there, waiting. Admiral Rhodes, a tall man with sharp eyes, stared at the image for a long time. "How long has it been there?" he asked. "Unknown, sir," replied one scientist. "But if the signal is real, the ship may not be fully dead." The room filled with tension. Everyone understood what this meant. A warship of unknown design, abandoned in their backyard. If humanity could claim it, they would leap centuries ahead in power. If not, others might come for it. Within days, Earth's fleet moved. The largest carriers and frigates escorted science vessels across the silent void toward the derelict. Soldiers prepared for boarding operations, engineers packed with scanners and cutting tools. No one knew what waited inside, but all of them felt the same unease. As the human fleet approached, the alien warship towered over them like a mountain in space. Its hull was scarred, pitted with holes that looked as if entire suns had burned against it. Strange alien writing still glowed faintly along its surface, like veins pulsing with the last drops of blood. Captain Mason, commander of the boarding team, stood ready in his black armor inside the docking bay. His team of 20 soldiers waited beside him, weapons charged but steady. "Remember," Mason said, his voice low, calm, "we don't know what's inside. Stay sharp. Don't trust anything." Their shuttle latched onto a torn section of the alien hull. The airlock hissed open, and the soldiers stepped into a corridor that was not meant for human eyes. The walls curved like bones, smooth and metallic yet strangely organic. The floor vibrated faintly under their boots, though no power was supposed to exist here. The silence was deep, heavy, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. One soldier muttered, "Feels like it's watching us." "Quiet," Mason ordered. They moved deeper. Their helmet lights swept across alien symbols carved into the walls, spirals and sharp lines that seemed to shift when looked at too long. The corridors stretched in impossible directions, as though the ship was larger inside than out. In the control chamber, they found rows of alien thrones facing a cracked, darkened console. Strange skeletons, clearly not human, sat slumped in them, their bodies long dead, armor fused to their bones. The scientists who followed the soldiers began scanning everything. Their leader, Dr. Hughes, spoke with awe. "These systems, they're not just machines. They're alive in some way, biomechanical." Mason looked at the alien console. Something about it felt unfinished, waiting. Against his better judgment, he reached out and touched it. At that instant, the ship awoke. The walls lit up with veins of blue light, racing outward like fire. The dead skeletons seemed to shiver before turning to dust. A deep hum shook the chamber as ancient engines stirred for the first time in centuries. "Pull back," Mason shouted, but it was too late. The entire derelict shuddered, and outside, the human fleet watched in shock as the alien warship's weapons arrays glowed to life. Giant cannons that had been dead for ages began to rotate. Sensors lit up like eyes opening. For a single terrifying moment, the warship pointed its weapons directly at Earth's ships. Then, as quickly as it started, the lights dimmed again. The cannons lowered. The hum faded to silence. The derelict had shown its teeth, then gone still. Back inside, the soldiers stood frozen. Dr. Hughes's voice trembled. It responded to human touch. It's not dead. It's waiting, testing us. Mason's hands tightened around his weapon. He felt the weight of history pressing on him. This was no simple wreck. This was a beast, asleep, waiting for someone bold enough or foolish enough to wake it fully. Back on Earth, leaders argued. Some wanted the ship destroyed before it could turn hostile. Others saw it as humanity's greatest chance to rise above the alien empires rumored across the stars. Admiral Rhodes made the final call. His voice was grim but steady. "We will claim it. That ship is ours now. No one else will have it." And so, the fate of humanity shifted. They had found the relic of a war long forgotten, a weapon beyond their imagination. But in the silence of space, something stirred. Somewhere in the galaxy, the true owners of the ship would hear the signal too. And they would come looking. The alien warship floated in silence, half dead, half alive, as humanity worked to claim it. For weeks, engineers, scientists, and soldiers lived inside its vast halls, trying to understand its secrets. Every corridor felt strange, as if the ship itself was studying them in return. Lights flickered when humans passed. Doorways that were sealed for centuries opened only to their touch. Captain Mason led most of the security operations. His soldiers patrolled the endless alien passageways, though no enemy lived inside. The danger was the ship itself. Machines would wake without warning. Spires that spat sparks of energy, or panels that screamed in alien tones until they were shut down again. Mason had seen tough men freeze, their nerves breaking under the eerie sounds. But the scientists pressed forward. Dr. Hughes believed the ship was not simply a machine but a living weapon, built to bond with whoever dared to control it. His team found that human DNA triggered responses that the long-dead aliens could no longer command. To the ship, humans were acceptable, maybe even chosen. One evening, deep in the central control chamber, Dr. Hughes stood before the alien console again. He placed his hands on its surface. Blue veins of light spread outward, humming in low tones. This time, the ship did not aim its cannons. Instead, the entire chamber shifted, rearranging itself. Seats and panels melted into new shapes, forming designs that strangely matched human forms. "It's adapting to us," Hughes whispered. His voice trembled with awe. "It's rewriting itself." Mason, standing nearby, didn't like the look of it. He tightened his grip on his rifle. "Or it's preparing to eat us alive," he muttered. The next day, the real test came. The engineers managed to activate one of the ship's weapon systems, though only for a short burst. A massive cannon extended from the side of the hull, larger than any human battleship. When they fired it into empty space, the beam tore through the void like a lance of lightning. An asteroid field nearly 1,000 miles away exploded into fragments. The humans stared in stunned silence. "That was only 1% of its charge," Hughes said. His face was pale, but his eyes burned with excitement. "Do you understand? This ship could wipe out entire fleets in seconds." Admiral Rhodes, watching through the feed back on Earth, nodded grimly. "Then it must be brought fully under our command. No one else must ever touch it." But the ship was not so easy to tame. Every time they unlocked a system, another would shut down. Every success came with a cost. When they tried to power the engines, entire sections of the hull sealed shut, trapping crews inside until the ship finally released them. When they attempted to map its structure, the hallways shifted, bending into new routes. Some corridors ended where none had before, leaving soldiers stranded until the walls opened again. Mason's men started calling the ship the Beast. It didn't just obey, it tested. One night, alarms blared through the human camp inside the derelict. A drone patrol went missing. By the time Mason's soldiers reached the site, they found the drones destroyed, sliced clean in half by glowing alien blades that had emerged from the walls. Then the blades retracted as if they had never been there. Dr. Hughes only grew more certain. It wants to know if we're strong enough. It rejects the weak. It's a warship. It's looking for warriors to command it. Mason frowned. And if we fail its test? Hughes did not answer. Despite the dangers, progress continued. The ship's engines roared to life 1 week later, filling the void with a soundless tremor. For the first time in centuries, the alien warship moved under its own power. The human fleet pulled back in awe as the giant vessel glided forward, dwarfing them like insects beside a whale. But what no one on Earth knew was that the activation sent ripples across the stars. The moment the engines lit, ancient listening posts in distant systems awoke. Silent machines, buried deep in alien empires, blinked with sudden light. The signal spread. The lost warship lives again. And far away others heard. Meanwhile, Mason walked through the ship's heart one last time that day. He felt the floor vibrate under his boots, a steady rhythm like the beating of a heart. He stopped and placed his hand against the wall. It was warm. "It's not just a machine," he said softly. Behind him, Hughes smiled faintly. "No, it's a partner. And we're the first species bold enough to claim it." But even as Hughes spoke, Mason's instincts screamed. This wasn't partnership. It was ownership. The beast was waiting for someone to prove worthy, and Mason feared what it would do if humanity failed. The next test came without warning. During a simple systems check, the ship suddenly locked every human inside. Doors sealed, oxygen levels began to drop. Soldiers pounded on walls. Engineers shouted in panic. For 5 long minutes, chaos filled the halls. Then, just as quickly, air flowed again, doors opened, and the ship went quiet. Everyone gasped for breath. "What the hell was that?" Mason roared. Hughes only stared at the glowing console. His voice shook. It was watching how we respond to death. It wanted to see if we would break or fight. The silence that followed was heavy. By now, the truth was clear. The ship was not just awakening, it was choosing. Humanity had stepped into the jaws of something far beyond them, and the beast was testing if they deserved to live inside its skin. Far beyond Earth, alien eyes were turning toward the solar system. The old empire that had once commanded the warship would not ignore the signal for long. And when they came, humanity would either control the beast or be destroyed by it. The alien warship's awakening did not go unnoticed. Across the stars, ancient machines stirred in silence. For centuries they had waited, hidden in forgotten systems, listening for a sound they hoped would never come. Now, with the warship's engines alive again, those machines sent their signal. One after another, like falling dominoes across the galaxy, the old empire was alerted. In the capital world of the Zareth Dominion, a council of alien warlords gathered in a towering chamber of black stone. Their bodies were tall and thin, armored with bone plates, their eyes glowing like burning coals. These were the ones who had ruled the warship ages ago. To them, the ship was not a relic. It was a crown, a weapon that had once broken galaxies under their will. High Warlord Zeros slammed his clawed hand against the table, his voice echoing. "The signal is confirmed. The warship lives. It stirs in the Sol system." The chamber shook with angry voices. "Impossible. It was lost forever. Who dares to touch it? Which rival dares claim what is ours?" Zeros raised his hand, and the chamber went silent. His voice was like thunder. "It is not another empire. It is the primitives, the species called humans." The word dripped with contempt. The council hissed in disbelief. "Humans?" One warlord snarled. "Barely starborn, insects with ships of steel and fire. They are nothing. Yet they touched the beast," Zeros growled. "And it answered." The silence grew heavy. Every warlord knew what that meant. The warship did not obey just anyone. Tested, it judged. If it had accepted humans, even briefly, then humanity was no longer something to ignore. Zeros's eyes narrowed, glowing brighter. If the humans learn to command it fully, the Dominion's reign ends. You all know what that ship can do. One vessel holds the power of entire fleets. One commander could shatter empires. Murmurs of fear spread through the chamber. The warlords were proud, but none forgot history. Long ago, when the beast was unleashed, it had crushed dozens of civilizations in a single campaign. Worlds had burned under its guns. Stars themselves had been torn apart in its fury. It was the greatest weapon the Dominion had ever built, and the greatest danger if it slipped from their grasp. Finally, one warlord leaned forward, his fangs bared. "Then there is only one choice. We take it back." The council agreed. Within hours, fleets of dark Dominion warships began to gather. Massive carriers, spearhead cruisers, and destroyers armed with energy lances set their course for the Sol system. The Dominion did not intend to negotiate. They would reclaim what was theirs in fire and blood. Meanwhile, in Earth's orbit, humanity celebrated too early. The alien warship, now called Titan by the soldiers, rested in high orbit around the moon, guarded by Earth's fleet. Crews worked day and night to understand its systems. Small victories came each day. They had unlocked shields that could cover entire cities. They had discovered engines that folded space itself, jumping across light years in seconds. Yet the beast still resisted. Mason saw it every day. Soldiers went missing in corridors that shifted like mazes. Engineers came back from their shifts with hollow eyes, whispering that the ship spoke to them in dreams. Dr. Hughes grew more obsessed, spending sleepless nights at the console, convinced the ship was guiding him personally. "Don't you see?" Hughes told Mason one night. "It's not just technology. It's alive. It's choosing us." Mason shook his head. "Or it's preparing to use us." But Hughes only smiled, his hands trembling with excitement. "Either way, Captain, it is ours now. Humanity has never had power like this. Not in all our history." Admiral Rhodes felt the same, though in colder terms. He had already ordered new strategies, new fleets to be built around the warship. With Titan, Earth could stand against any alien empire, even ones they had never met. Humanity had always been underestimated. Now they would be feared. But as the humans dreamed of glory, the Dominion drew closer. The first sign came from a listening post near the outer planets. A lone operator stared at his screen in disbelief as hundreds of new signals appeared on his scanners. Not asteroids, not comets, ships. He whispered into his headset, voice shaking. "Unknown contacts. Large fleet. Headed straight for Sol." The warning spread like fire. Within hours, Earth's leaders knew. Humanity was no longer alone in its secret. The true owners of the Titan were coming back for their prize. Inside the warship, Mason stood in the control chamber when the message came. His soldiers shifted uneasily, their armor gleaming in the pale blue light of the alien walls. Hughes stood frozen, his face pale now instead of burning with excitement. "They know," Mason said quietly. "The ones who built this thing. They're coming." The ship seemed to hum in answer, as if it already knew. Lights crawled along the walls, faster, brighter, almost eager. "It's waiting for the fight," Hughes whispered. Outside, the skies above Earth filled with activity. Fleets mobilized. Civilians were evacuated from colonies and outposts. The moon's surface lit with defenses, while Earth's cities prepared for war. Humanity had seen battles before, but nothing like this. Admiral Rhodes stood on the command deck of Earth's flagship, his face grim as he stared at the towering alien warship. "If they want it back," he said, his voice like steel, "they'll have to go through us first." Far away, the Dominion fleet cut through the void, black ships gliding like predators. High Warlord Zeros stood on his command throne, his claws tapping against the armrest. His eyes blazed with hunger and rage. "Soon," he growled, "we reclaim the beast, and the humans will learn what it means to steal from gods." The galaxy held its breath. The beast had awoken, and now war was coming. The first alien fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system without warning. Silent shadows slipped out of hyperspace, hundreds of dark warships spreading like a storm front. Their hulls were sharp and angular, glowing faint red from energy cores buried deep inside. Their arrival was so sudden, so vast, that for a moment Earth's defense network thought it was a sensor error. Then the fleet advanced, slow and steady, each ship burning with the mark of the Zereth Dominion. Inside the Pentagon war room, the faces of generals and admirals turned pale. The screen showed the invasion force moving closer with every second. "They didn't come to talk," Admiral Rhodes said. His voice was steady, though his jaw was tight. "They came to take back the warship." On the moon, the alien vessel Titan loomed like a sleeping god above Earth's fleet. Even surrounded by dozens of human carriers and destroyers, Titan dwarfed them all. Its surface glowed faintly, the blue veins pulsing like a heartbeat. Captain Mason and Dr. Hughes stood inside its central chamber, staring at the console as reports came flooding in. "The Dominion fleet is here," Mason said grimly. He turned to Hughes. "Can you control the ship yet?" Hughes's hands trembled over the alien surface. "Not fully. It still resists, but it listens sometimes. We can't unlock everything." Mason's voice hardened. "Then we'll make do with what we have." The first human fleet met the Dominion in the orbit of Neptune. Earth's ships spread into formation, their hulls gleaming in the cold light. Commanders barked orders, weapons charged, shields raised. For the first time in history, humanity faced a true alien armada. The Dominion struck first. Their cruisers launched streams of molten plasma, tearing through the void like rivers of fire. Their destroyers fired beams that cut straight through human shields. Entire frigates exploded in the first volley, shattering into burning debris. But humanity did not break. Carriers unleashed squadrons of fighters, swarming like hornets around the Dominion's massive ships. Missiles streaked across the battlefield, detonating against alien hulls. For every human ship that fell, an alien cruiser burned with it. The battle was brutal, fast, and terrifying. Mason watched the chaos on Titan's displays. His soldiers stood behind him, silent, waiting for his command. He felt the ship hum around him, restless, as if eager to join the fight. "Engage the primary cannon," Mason ordered. Hughes hesitated. "We only tested it once." "Do it." The alien console flared to life. Titan shuddered, its massive cannons unfolding like the limbs of a beast waking from a long sleep. Energy built inside its core, blue light spilling out across the hull. Every human and alien ship in range turned toward it, struck with awe and fear. Then Titan fired. A single beam of energy cut through the darkness, brighter than the sun itself. It ripped across the battlefield, slicing through 3 Dominion cruisers in one instant. Their hulls melted like wax, their cores detonating in a chain reaction that lit the void with fire. The battlefield went silent for a heartbeat. Both sides froze, stunned by the impossible power. Mason's voice was low. "Load again." The Dominion fleet reeled, but they did not retreat. More warships surged forward, hundreds strong. They unleashed their fury at Titan, focusing every weapon they had on the ancient beast. Bolts of plasma, beams of energy, missile storms. Every strike hammered into the alien warship. Titan's shields flared blue, shimmering under the assault. The ship groaned like a living creature, the deck beneath Mason's feet shaking with the impact. "Shields at 70%, Hughes shouted. Sweat ran down his face. "We can't take that forever." "Fire again," Mason roared. Titan unleashed another beam. This one cut straight through the Dominion's flagship, splitting the giant vessel in half. The explosion shook the battlefield, sending debris spinning into the void. Human crews cheered across their comms, their fear turning into something new. Hope. For the first time, humanity was not prey. But the Dominion was relentless. Their ships closed the distance, swarming around the human fleet. Carriers exploded one by one. Fighters were torn from the sky. Earth's navy was bleeding fast. Titan's power was incredible, but it was still only one ship, and it could not be everywhere at once. Inside the control chamber, alarms screamed. The walls glowed hot, the console flashing warnings in alien symbols. Hughes struggled to keep control, his hands flying over shifting panels. "It's resisting me. It won't obey every command." Mason steadied himself against the shaking deck. Then tell it what it wants to hear. Show it we're fighters, not cowards. For a moment Hughes closed his eyes. The ship hummed around them, and the lights shifted, as if listening. Then Titan's core surged with power. New systems are unlocking, Hughes whispered. It's giving us more. Panels unfolded, revealing weapons humanity had never seen before. Orb-like projectors began to spin across Titan's surface, glowing with unstable light. Do it, Mason ordered. Titan unleashed a storm. The projectors fired blasts of condensed gravity, invisible waves that crushed Dominion ships into twisted wrecks. Entire squadrons vanished in seconds, folded into black spheres before exploding outward in silence. The battlefield shifted. Humanity's fleet rallied behind Titan, pressing forward. Dominion ships burned, one after another, until the invaders pulled back, their formations breaking under the onslaught. For the first time in living memory, the Dominion retreated. Silence fell across the battlefield as the surviving Dominion ships warped away, leaving wreckage behind. Earth's fleet floated in the debris field, scarred, broken, but alive. In Titan's chamber, Mason stood still, breathing hard. His soldiers cheered, but he felt no victory in his chest, only unease. They'll be back, he said quietly. This was only the beginning. Hughes looked at him with wild eyes. Don't you see? We won. With Titan, we can stand against them. Humanity has power now. Real power. But Mason's instincts told him the truth. This wasn't victory. It was the spark of something larger. The Dominion would not forgive, and they would not stop. The first battle was only a test for both sides. And across the stars, in the dark heart of the Dominion, High Warlord Zeros watched the battle's end on his command screen. His burning eyes narrowed, his claws curling into fists. They've bonded with it, he growled. The beast answers to them. Around him, his warlords hissed in anger and fear. Then we will bring fire greater than they can imagine, Zero swore. We will tear Earth apart until nothing remains. The war had only begun. The wreckage of the first battle still floated near Neptune, a graveyard of broken ships. Human vessels drifted among the ruins, pulling survivors from shattered hulls, marking the lost with silent signals. Titan, the alien warship, loomed above it all, its dark surface glowing faintly, like a predator resting after a hunt. But Mason knew the silence would not last. The Dominion had retreated, but they had not been defeated. He had fought long enough to know the difference. The first wave was only a probe. The next attack would come harder, faster, with more ships than Earth had ever seen. Humanity had bought time, nothing more. Admiral Rhodes gathered the leaders of Earth's defense inside Titan's vast chamber, their holograms flickering against the alien walls. Their faces were grim but alive with a fire Mason had never seen before. Gentlemen, Rhodes said, his voice carrying weight. For the first time in our history, we stood against an empire and we did not fall. The Titan has given us an edge. Now we must sharpen it. We will not wait for the Dominion to crush us. We will prepare for war. Around the table, the commanders nodded. They had seen what Titan could do. One beam had split a flagship in half. Gravity weapons had crushed entire squadrons. Humanity had glimpsed power beyond imagination, and they wanted more. Dr. Hughes stood near the console, his eyes burning with obsession. The ship is still holding back. It adapts to us, but slowly. It wants proof, it wants us to push further. If we keep unlocking its systems, we'll find weapons no empire can resist. Mason frowned. Weapons like what? Hughes didn't answer. He only smiled, as though the thought of it thrilled him too much to say aloud. In the weeks that followed, Titan revealed more of itself. The ship's core, once dormant, began to glow brighter with every activation. Hughes and his scientists discovered chambers filled with strange crystals that pulsed in rhythm with human brainwaves. When linked, they amplified thought into commands the ship could understand. Mason tested them himself. Standing inside one of the crystal halls, he felt the Titan stir at the edge of his mind. It was not words, not images, but something deeper, like a storm brushing against his thoughts. The beast acknowledged him. It waited. The first weapon to emerge was something no human mind could have imagined. During a test near Saturn, Titan unfolded massive structures along its spine. Energy built until the very space around the ship seemed to warp. Then, without a sound, an entire moon fragment simply vanished. No explosion, no light, just gone, erased as if it had never existed. A few seconds later, fragments appeared light years away, scattering like dust into an unknown system. Did it just move a moon? One engineer whispered. Hughes's voice was shaking, but his eyes were wild with triumph. It didn't move it. It erased it from one place and wrote it into another. Space itself is a weapon now. Mason stared at the empty void where the moon had been. A weapon that could erase fleets, planets, maybe even stars. Firepower unimaginable. News spread quickly through Earth's ranks. Soldiers who once feared the alien ship now spoke of it with reverence. They called it the Sword of Humanity. Artists painted it on banners. Civilians across the world cheered, watching broadcasts of the Titan's weapons tests. For the first time, humanity didn't feel small. For the first time, they felt like conquerors. But Mason couldn't shake the unease in his chest. He had seen how Titan responded. It didn't simply obey commands. It reacted. It gave more when it wanted, when it judged humans strong enough. And every gift came with a cost. The cost revealed itself one night when Titan's systems surged without warning. Mason was in the control chamber when the ship began to glow, its blue veins flaring until the walls shone like fire. Sirens echoed across the decks. Soldiers and engineers ran through corridors as doors sealed, cutting them off. "Hughes!" Mason shouted. "What's happening?" The scientist's hands danced over the console. His face was pale, but his voice was ecstatic. "It's not an attack. It's a transformation. The ship is evolving." Titan's hull split open in places, unfolding massive wings of black alloy that shimmered with energy. Towers rose higher, weapons reformed into new shapes. The ship stretched, shifting like a creature shedding its skin. Human fleets scrambled to pull back, their crews staring in awe as Titan became something even larger, more alien, more alive. When the glow finally dimmed, Titan's silhouette had changed forever. What was once a derelict warship now looked like a god of war, its design fused between alien and human patterns. It was as if the ship had chosen to become part of humanity itself. Admiral Rhodes's voice thundered across every comm. "This is what they fear. This is our weapon now. With Titan, we are no longer prey. We are the hunters." But Mason whispered to himself, unheard, "Or we're the bait," because far beyond the solar system, the Dominion was not silent. High Warlord Zeros sat on his command throne, watching new reports stream in. His red eyes burned with fury. "They unlocked it," he growled. "The beast has revealed its true weapons." One of his warlords bowed low. "Shall we send another fleet, my lord?" Zeros bared his fangs. "No. Not another fleet. An armada. Every ship, every gun. If the humans believe they can wield the beast, then we will drown them in fire. We will remind the galaxy who holds dominion." And so the Dominion began to gather the greatest force they had ever unleashed. On Earth, the people celebrated, blind to the storm coming for them. They saw Titan's firepower as salvation, not as a curse. Soldiers swore oaths to defend humanity's new empire. Engineers dreamed of copying its weapons, and leaders spoke of pushing into the stars. Only Mason saw the shadow beneath the light. Titan was powerful, yes, unimaginable, but the beast was not theirs. It had its own will, its own purpose. Humanity was not the master. They were the test subjects. And soon, when the Dominion Armada arrived, that test would come to its true end. The alarm came at dawn. Titan's sensors lit up first, detecting the ripple in space before any human radar could catch it. Mason was in the control chamber when the warning symbols flared across the alien console. His chest went cold. He had seen many battles, many fleets, but never numbers like these. The Dominion Armada was coming. Ships tore into real space like a storm breaking through the sky, Dozens at first, then hundreds, then thousands. Their black hulls spread across the void, blotting out the stars. Each vessel bristled with weapons, from cruisers the size of cities to massive capital ships that dwarfed Earth's entire navy. They had come to wipe humanity from existence. Admiral Rhodes's voice cut through the panic. This is it. This is the battle that will decide if we stand or fall. Remember, today we fight not as scattered nations, but as one people. We fight as humanity. Across every human ship, soldiers strapped into their stations. Pilots kissed pictures of loved ones. Marines held their rifles, silent but unyielding. For the first time in history, all of Earth stood together under one banner. And above them, Titan glowed like a living star. The first shots came from the Dominion. A rain of plasma fire streaked through the dark, lighting the void like meteors. Human ships moved in tight formations, shields flashing as they held the line. Fighters swarmed out, weaving between enemy cannons, striking where they could. Titan didn't move at first. It waited. It watched. Mason stood in the crystal chamber, the alien energy pressing against his mind. He could feel Titan's thoughts like a storm whispering at the edge of his skull. The beast was restless, hungry. Now, Mason whispered. The Titan answered. Its hull flared with light. The massive wings unfolded, drawing in power from the stars themselves. A ripple spread outward, warping space in all directions. Then the first weapon fired. A beam of light so bright it blinded every sensor tore across the void. It didn't explode, it erased. A Dominion capital ship vanished, sliced from existence as though it had never been built. The Armada reeled. Their formation broke for only a heartbeat. Humanity struck. Forward, Rhodes shouted. Push them back. Human warships surged with renewed fury. Fighters cut down enemy squadrons. Destroyers fired in unison, their missiles striking Dominion cruisers like hammers against steel. The void shook with fire, but the Dominion was not broken. For every ship destroyed, 10 more pressed forward. Their massive flagships unleashed storms of plasma, melting through Earth's smaller vessels. Human losses mounted fast. The fleet was fighting with courage, but courage alone would not win this war. Only Titan could tip the scale. Mason felt the weight of the ship pulling at his mind. Every time Titan fired, the pressure grew. It was not like commanding a human weapon, it was like wrestling a living storm. He could barely hold on, but he refused to let go. The Dominion unleashed a weapon of their own. From the heart of their formation, a massive dreadnought moved forward, larger than Titan itself. Its hull glowed with red symbols as its supercannons charged. The energy gathered into a sphere, pulsing brighter than the sun. "Target locked," shouted one officer. "They're aiming at Titan." Mason gritted his teeth. He could feel the beast respond, its energy surging, claws digging into his thoughts. Titan did not fear. Titan wanted to fight. "Then let's fight," Mason growled. The dreadnought fired. The cannon blast ripped across space, tearing through everything in its path. Human cruisers shattered like glass, whole squadrons gone in a flash. The beam struck Titan and bent around it. Space itself warped, redirecting the blast harmlessly aside. The dreadnought's shot curved into its own fleet, annihilating dozens of Dominion ships in an instant. Titan roared. Wings of energy stretched wide, and the ship unleashed its second weapon. Space folded. The Dominion dreadnought twisted in on itself, its hull collapsing as if pulled into a black hole. In seconds, it was gone. Nothing left but a tear in space that slowly healed. The human fleet cheered. Across every channel, voices rose in hope. "We can win. We can win this." But Mason wasn't celebrating. He felt Titan dig deeper into his mind. The more power it unleashed, the more it demanded. His thoughts blurred. He saw visions, worlds burning, stars collapsing, fleets erased in silence. Titan was showing him what it could do if he only let go. And it terrified him. "Stay with me," he muttered, gripping the crystal harder. "You fight for us. You fight for humanity." For a moment, the beast resisted. Then it bent, just enough for Mason to breathe again. The battle raged for hours. Human fleets were torn apart, but they held. Titan carved through the enemy, its weapons rewriting the battlefield. Dominion ships fell one after another, their armada shrinking with every blast. At last, High Warlord Zeros himself entered the fray. His personal flagship, the Blood Crown, moved forward, its crimson hull shining like fire. He opened all channels, his voice echoing like thunder. Humans, you think one stolen relic makes you strong? You are nothing. You are prey. And today I will end you myself. Rhodes stood on his command deck, eyes burning with defiance. Then come and try. The Blood Crown unleashed a storm of plasma, shredding 2 human destroyers in seconds. Titan moved to intercept, its weapons clashing with the Dominion flagship. The void shook as 2 giants fought, their blows tearing holes in space itself. Mason pushed harder, his mind screaming as he forced Titan to match the Blood Crown. Energy beams collided, shockwaves tearing through fleets on both sides. Fighters and cruisers scattered, unable to survive the duel of gods. At last, Titan's wings flared with their brightest light yet. Mason gave everything, pouring every thought, every ounce of will into the ship. Titan unleashed its final strike. The Blood Crown split in half, its hull burning as it disintegrated into dust. High Warlord Zeros's last roar echoed through comms before silence claimed him forever. When the Dominion saw their warlord fall, their resolve shattered. Their fleets broke apart, ships fleeing into the void. Humanity had stood. Humanity had risen. But the victory came at a cost. Half the human fleet was gone. Earth's orbit was filled with wreckage and fire. And Mason collapsed in the crystal chamber, barely alive, his mind scarred from the beast's grip. Titan floated silently now, its weapons dim, its glow fading. It had fought with humanity, but for how long? Mason didn't know if it was truly theirs, or if they were only pieces in its greater design. Admiral Rhodes's voice carried across every surviving ship. Today we were tested. Today we stood against the greatest empire the galaxy has ever known, and we did not fall. Humanity has risen. Remember this day. Remember who we are. Across Earth, across every surviving ship, people cheered through tears and blood. They had won. But in the quiet of Titan's chamber, Mason whispered to himself, "This isn't the end. It's only the beginning." And deep within the ship's core, the beast stirred again.